Hey everybody, welcome to the Snow West Show. I'm your host Ryan Harris. We've got a great show lined up here today. We are going to be talking about 2026 Lynx snowmobiles. There's so much going on with Lynx for 2026. A lot of changes. I mean, shy of coming out with a new platform, this is about as action packed you can get for a new season. I'm based here in Idaho, in North America, and across the pond in Finland, Sweden. We've got
Finland,
oh
right?
Finland. Oh, that's right.
Yes,
But
yes.
Yeah, I'm Sweden.
Okay, that's where I'm getting mixed up. And Yanni, you live in Finland or Sweden?
Oh, Finland. I'm born and raised in Finland, Rovaniemi, and that's the hometown of Lynx
Okay.
factory. So yeah, I'm here and working on the engineering Lynx side, project manager. I'm leading projects over the years, and this model year 26 Redder is now the project we are getting into the production soon, as we know. So it has been my latest task within a couple of years.
And you've been with Lynx pretty much. How long have you been with Lynx as far as an engineering role?
I started officially 2005, so I will be having my 20-year anniversary now in the springtime. Yeah, and I have a long background with Lynx because I was snowcross racing back in the day in 90s and so on, and my father has been working 30 years at the Lynx factory at 70s 80s and yeah, so I'm kind of second generation on the Lynx side, and for sure it has been a great experience to be able to do this job, and I'm really happy in this position.
So you kind of
Well, I think
you mentioned. Sorry to interrupt you there. You mentioned your snowcross background. There's a little more to that story there. Like you're two-time world snowcross champion over there.
Yeah, I did more or less 10-year professional career over the mainly here in Scandinavia, Europe. I most like well, let's say I can say I have all the championships you can have from this side of the ocean, being from Finland. So then I did some racing in the US side as well back in the day, in the Grand Prix de Valcourt been a couple of times, and then I was in WSA series in 90s, late 90s. Did a couple of races before I broke my knee, but I was doing good. I was leading the points in the Pro Open with Tony Harkonen at the Canterbury in January. Then after that, I needed to go back home, and I didn't continue racing in US because I kind of wanted to develop racing in this side of the ocean. I did, and I was having my own team and so on here on this side of the ocean, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that background
has been
that's a cool story. I think that background is important just so people realize that you, as the general product or snowmobile product manager for Lynx, like you are a snowmobiler. You've come from the grassroots side of racing and snowcross and risen to the top of the snowcross field, especially over there in Scandinavia. And, you've done it all. Like you're not just an engineer. You're out there. You're as a diehard snowmobiler, like I said, second generation snowmobiler with Lynx. Moving over to the Hannu Harkonen. Am I saying that right?
yeah, pretty close. Hannu Harkonen.
Pretty close. That's as close as I'm going to get. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
You're global product manager for Lynx, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so talk about that role. What all does that entail?
My role is mainly to manage the lineup as a whole. So not just not one project. Like Janne is working on the R&D side on projects. I'm managing the lineup as a whole. So the all the models, all the lineup that we have, and also managing the 7-year lineup of Lynx snowmobiles. So we're planning things in the future, pretty far in the future, 7 up to 10 years even. So that's on my table. Of course, a lot of stuff to do with the launches and things like what we're doing today, but that's perhaps the most visible part of my job. But then there's a lot of background work. We do market research. We try to understand the customer and bring the kind of the voice of the customer to our product development processes.
So how do you implement that? What do you do to go out and then get the feedback from the customer and bring that back?
We do different kind of focus groups. So we ride with our customers. We invite, let's say, a small group of customers to ride with us, and we interview them, gather feedback from them. We do big market research, more like a quantitative study. So we send out surveys and questionnaires to our customers to understand their needs. So there are many different ways to gather feedback.
All right, and then moving on there, Pascal Vincent, you and I go back quite a bit. So you're director for Global Product Management at BRP as a whole, correct?
That's correct. Global Product Strategy for Snowmobile, so both Ski-Doo and Lynx, but also on-road, which covers three-wheel and two-wheel, our latest addition to our portfolio, the two-wheel electric motorcycle.
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, what I wanted to say is I started at BRP, Bombardier in 1980. So it's been 35 years already. Thanks, fly. But I've been involved in the snowmobile, in 2008, when we launched the Red XT. You probably remember that. And since then, I've been involved in the snowmobile for the last 17 years.
We went out and toured the facility there in Quebec last September. Mm-hmm. And you guys showed us through the factory and showed us through the museum. It's pretty phenomenal what came out of Quebec there in Valcourt. The trains, the wheels and everything, the vulcanized sprockets, and where that led to, the aircraft,
Oh yeah, well, when the inventor Joseph Armand Bombardier started the whole business, the Bombardier business, with the B7 and B12, the Autoneige, the kind of a big square box with a Ford engine onto it. Well, it's just evolved quickly to the big Bombardier company as we know it today.
Yeah.
But maybe I would just want to say one word regarding my role is obviously to make sure that the two snowmobile brands, because I'm working on Ski-Doo and on Lynx, my role is to make sure that both brands succeed with their own advantages. And my role is to make sure that we are not overlapping our models, our products, and keeping the DNA of Lynx for what it is. And it's not a simple task, I can tell you, but I think we are succeeding quite well so far. Time will tell, and consumer will tell us, but that's our day-to-day discussion, I would say.
So explain a little more to the listeners, just so they understand the relationship there. Lynx operates completely independent in Finland of Ski-Doo in North America.
That's correct.
They share a few components, but the engineering teams come up with their own stuff, or are they working together?
I'll start the discussion. Maybe Janne, you can chip in. Two engineering teams. Okay, there's one team, Ski-Doo team is located in Valcourt, and the Lynx engineering team is located in Rovaniemi in Finland, and they have their own agenda. Of course, we are leveraging, the costly investment like engine. We're using the same engine at some point. Calibration could be tweaked for, the vehicle behavior, whether for Lynx or Ski-Doo. For sure, we are sharing components, but the ones that change the behavior of the vehicle are specific to the brand. So suspension is one very good and easy example. The rear suspension and now the front suspension on the shredder are totally Lynx product, Lynx component. It's not a knockoff from Ski-Doo or whatsoever. And we're trying to make sure to differentiate the two vehicles visually, but also riding behavior.
Yes, I fully agree. And we have a different approach because we are, first of all, over the ocean, so there's long distance. So, and we are riding anyway a little bit different way that in our side, and we kind of our background is also different what comes to the riding. So this all is kind of giving a flavor to Lynx, in this case to Lynx riders, that how they handle and what kind of behavior we want to see and what do we don't want to see on the sleds and and so on. So they are totally different, even though some people are talking that they are same sleds, but they don't know what they are talking about. So once you go riding our sled, you understand it's a totally different sled.
Yeah, it's definitely a totally different ride experience. And speaking of behavior on snow and rear suspension and everything, let's welcome our other guest, Andreas Bergmark, calling in. You're Sweden native, but you're calling in from Whistler, BC today, chasing snow. If you've been following Andreas on Instagram, you can kind of see where he's been the last little bit, chasing that deep snow for sure. How you doing, Andreas?
I'm doing good, Ryan. It's early morning, and we are after this heading out. So yeah, I'm kind of stoked.
How's the last week been up there for you?
Revelstoke was quite hard, so we went down to Whistler now, and it's just what they call Whistler deep. It's like you can't even film. It's just too much snow right now.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
good problem to have. Yeah, Andreas, you wear a lot of hats over there, and one of them apparently is proofreader. You messaged me last week and gave me a couple of things I had gotten wrong on my website, just a couple little edits there to fix.
Yeah, I know. Just want to help out.
That's fun. So you're fresh off the Big 5 series that you worked with in conjunction of Red Bull. You're being a Red Bull athlete. What was your favorite of the Big 5?
Oh, favorite one. I would say the front flip. I would probably guess. It's kind of just a big statement in a way. It's just a super cool trick to pull off. Didn't believe it before I even had the idea before this Big 5 series that it was possible. So it's just the favorite one. And the day was just perfect too. We had a perfect blue sky up in Riksgränsen. All my friends were there. It was just a fantastic day to do it. Yeah.
So was there any behind the scenes editing involved, or did you really stomp that thing on first try?
First try. No
great.
Kidding. It's insane. It was actually like the camera guys, and they were like, man, it was too easy for you. Like you need a crash, like something to show how hard it is, but it just worked out so good.
Yeah, you made that look really easy. Pascal, you gonna go out there and try a front flip this year?
No, I'm trying to get away from this. No, I was not able to get there. Sorry about that. But
well, Andre,
when I'm seeing these videos, I'm just saying to myself, this guy is just crazy. But this seems so simple, so easy to do.
He makes it look so easy, and there probably is a little bit of that crazy element to it. But Andreas, you epitomize what I think is the image and what LYNX is all about. Like, it's a different riding style, it's a different snow terrain, it's a different snow condition, which creates this totally different suspension and chassis feel that LYNX has, even compared to other BRP product, right? So, and Janne, let's start there. Like, the rear suspension has evolved over the last several years, but this really goes back to your earlier days there racing, doesn't it? Is that where this suspension derives from?
Yes, Pauli Piippola, who was working as a LYNX technician over the years, he came up with this idea on his racing activities around snowcross, and he started to develop this PPS rear suspension further and further. We were using this already in the 90s in some of the models, and then it kind of evolved, and we eventually started using, let's say, this type of rear suspension we have nowadays on the trail sleds already in 2006, I think was the first model year. When we were entering on the deep snow market, obviously we needed to start somewhere, and we started to test PPS trail suspension on the deep snow, and of course the first models were so on the deep snow, but what we saw was that even though we were not targeting anything to work on the trail riding, it was always very good on the trail eventually. And I think we have gone through like I think 3-4 generations on the deep snow versions now over the years, and this one is now developed even further from the original versions quite far away. So for this year, for sure, we were targeting purely on the deep snow, not care about the trail riding. We have a shorter rear suspension travel. The rear arm travel, shorter shock, progressive spring to help the rear arm to stay in the right position on a deep snow. The front arm is having a new spring rate as well, softer spring. The rail angle is smoother, so it's a more nice angle towards the snow when you go on the deep stuff.
And that's an
all the
approach
valving
angle.
is-
Sorry to jump in there, but
Yes.
your rail is a more gradual approach angle on the front, but you've also straightened out the tail end of the rail. It used to have a little bit of a
Yes,
incline there up to the
exactly.
rear axle.
Yes, exactly. We had the tail of the rail was tilted up a little bit, but now it's straight to maximize the traction. And I said the attack approach angle is smoother as well.
And this is all designed to do what? Just make the shredder get up on top of the snow a little bit more?
Yeah, with the previous model, customers were complaining about the trenching. So this was the first thing we wanted to reduce. All this is around this topic for sure. But as well, we want to have enough capabilities, fun factor on the sled, so enough wheelies and so on. Obviously, you cannot have everything in the same time. So I think the earlier version was quite wheelie happy. So we have reduced that feature a little bit to gain pure performance on the deep snow.
So Andreas, you're riding this 2026 stuff. I'm assuming you've been out on this stuff already, right?
Yeah, I've been out like half a day on the DS, but I've been over 2 days on the RE earlier this year.
So what do you think of these changes that they've done on the rear suspension to make it work in deep snow?
The RE, I was really blown away. Really, like it was for some reason both on the trail more steady, which is a lot of things we can talk about, but it was more stable on the trail. But at the same time, it was a big improvement in the forest too. Like it did the right for me, less effort just to keep under control. Yeah, I was really happy with how the 2026 RE turned out. It's going to be super fun to have it next year.
All right, let's talk about the tunnel as well there. Janne, I don't know if you want to jump in on that, but the tunnel, this is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of the 26 shredders, in my opinion, that the changes to the tunnel. It's slimmer. If you're looking at a side profile, it's more tapered, which brings the running boards up higher. And if you look at it from like a bird's eye view looking straight down, it's also tapered in narrower, so it doesn't hang up in your own trench, right?
Yeah, we want to say that we started 2018. We were the first manufacturer to bring short tunnel for the customers in the mountain segment, and that idea was really to ease the riding in the extreme deep snow, and then over the years we have gone further and further, and now we are here. We shortened the tunnel, shortened the cooler. We tapered the tunnel in on the back. So this is for sure all to minimize the friction against the snow when you are riding in extreme conditions. The running boards are higher, so they also support the ergonomy for the rider. So the rider is in a better position riding up hills, and in the same time minimizing the friction against the snow. They also slightly shorter, if I say 15 millimeters shorter than earlier. So this is again reducing the snow friction.
So I'm looking at a side profile of the tunnel here where the running board kind of comes and connects to the rear suspension hanger. That back portion is about 15 millimeters shorter, right?
Yes, and also the running board support which is now in a more shallow angle, so the rider can utilize this support better in those extreme situations.
And then as far as like the footbed looking down on that, you've opened that up a little more, opened the material up for snow evacuation?
Yes, exactly. We were packing snow on the back of the running board earlier, and now we have increased quite a lot the openings and made it lighter and in the same time.
Andreas, talk about that a little bit, just what you feel different model year 25 to model year 26 on these changes to the tunnel, specifically like where they like, does it hang up in the snow a little bit less? Like, are you able to feel that?
Well, it's more open for sure. Like but just by looking at it, you can see that it's gonna work way better. So it's less snow getting stuck on the tunnel. And I also really like that it's lift up in the rear, the running board. So when you're side hilling or climbing, it's steeper. You just kind of get up to the handlebar more easily. Like you get closer to the bar when you're running the steep hills, which just makes it way more easier. Like you don't fall behind the handlebar in the same way up in the trees.
Helps you keep your body weight ahead of the machine.
Yeah, kind of like you get more close to the handlebar where you want to be when you ride.
And the other aspect of that on the ergonomic side is you've shortened the riser a little bit, correct?
Yeah, it's a bit shorter too, which is like I've been for I don't know how many years. Usually I just put on a 90 mil riser, so this is kind of my go-to. It's been for the last 8 years.
Explain that a little more, just so people at home understand what the difference is there. Because I was out yesterday with somebody. They had a Ski-Doo, and they had a riser on that sucker that was about 9 inches tall on a Gen 5 Ski-Doo, and it's like, oh, we've talked about this. Like, can we not as a community come together and understand what these tall risers are doing to you? Talk about why the short rider is more advantageous for what you're doing.
Well, the bar gets closer to the sled, so the steeper you're riding, the more you can lean forward without having the handlebar up your chest when you want the weight to be transferred to the front. It's more about that. You're kind of in a more attack position when you ride. So I would say it's more for if you want to ride aggressive, steep riding, the shorter riser. That's when you want it.
Yeah, stuff we see out here too, where we ride with guys like this guy yesterday. The places he struggles the most is like on a downhill off camber when the sled is sitting level with the ground rather than up on its edge. They have a hard time reaching over and gripping the bars and getting it to roll back up onto the edge. And the longer that riser is, the farther that reach is, and the more your upper body mass has to roll over, and you just can't overcome that. So a shorter riser here, what we're doing too, just helps you control that machine on angles and everything too. And I'll point out here, Pascal, you can jump in if you want here, but I'm going to point out just so everybody listening to this understands. Yeah, like we mentioned earlier that the Lynx and Ski-Doo are both under the BRP umbrella, but what we're talking about here on the tunnel, this is unique to Lynx. Like, yes, Ski-Doo went to the super short tunnel and shortened the cooler as well, but the taper and the width of the tunnel, that's unique to Lynx here.
Absolutely. And, that's another perfect example where we are creating differentiation between the two brands. Otherwise, people would call it a red Ski-Doo or a yellow Lynx. We don't want that. So by doing so, we give to engineering, and Janne was part of that. Here's what we'd like to achieve. And then they come up with ideas that we test with consumer, with dealers, with people, getting feedback, tweaking it, and going back on snow. But this is extremely important to maintain the brand DNA of both brands.
I was on a model year 25 Shredder RE yesterday, and man, the ride quality on that thing, people were fighting over it on the way up and on the way out because our moguls were 3 feet deep and hard as concrete. But the suspension, like you're talking about, the Lynx suspension sets it apart from anything else out there, and anything that's been out there for decades. Like it is a totally different ride experience. The rear suspension acts differently. Bump absorption is off the charts, different compared to anything else out there. And then you're going into 2026, modifying that a little bit to make it work more in deep snow, where that PPS tends to push the front arm down into the snow a little bit more. You've changed that with the softer spring rate, changing some of those components, the more gradual approach angle, making this work better in deep snow out here, but not really compromising that phenomenal ride quality.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you know what? I need to give a full kudos to the engineering team, because usually when you have, let's say, great suspension off trail, on trail, going back, at the end of the day, you want to have something that is quite plush and compliant. But when you ask, okay, keep that plushness in trail riding going back, to the trailer at the end of the day, but improve on deep snow, usually it's a trade-off. You are, let's say, losing a little bit on trail comfort and then giving it to the off trail. But in this case, we kept both. We were able to improve in the deep snow and maintain the great rear suspension in bumps and moguls. So kudos to the team, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. The couple days we've had on them, I don't see any compromise made on trail handling. Of course, I'm in a different ballpark than Andreas here. Like maybe you can speak to that a little bit, Andreas. The type of riding you do, especially in back home in Sweden, where the snow is more set up and nothing is smooth out there. I don't really see much of a compromise on the trail and the bump compatibility side of things.
No, I haven't felt any, I haven't lost any capability for the jumping I'm doing. It's the same machine as far as jumping, doing trails, just riding hard. All that is still there. So there's nothing missing. We're still going to be able to do exactly the same stuff that I've been doing for years. So yeah, it's still the RE I want.
So real quick, while we're on the rear suspension on the rear end here, Janne, what are the main differences between the RE, which is the Andreas machine with all these big jumps and the Big 5 series and everything, and the DS, which is a little bit more suited to deep snow? What are the differences in the rear suspension between the RE and the DS?
Yes. So the RE has for sure reinforcements. It's because of these big jumps and landings and moguls, as we can understand Andreas is talking about. So reinforcements, and also the shocks are bigger capacity. So we are using 46 millimeter piston size on the rear shock with the piggyback and the 46 on the center arm as well. So the maximum capacity shocks for the big jumps.
And then what are the shock piston sizes on the DS?
36 millimeters. And of course, we are balancing with the weight and capacity. So the DS is lighter. Also, the rails are lighter on the DS. So we want to have that as light as possible. Of course, RE then needs to be stronger and more capacity on the suspension, more reinforcements.
So with the difference in the rails and the shocks, what's the weight difference going between an RE, say 4100, and or RE 3900 and a DS 3900? On
the rear suspension, or
just the rear suspension? Yeah,
must be something like 2 kilos, 4 pounds,
4
in
pounds.
this range somewhere there.
Okay, and
Yeah.
and you're seeing that on the RE, you're going from a solid rail beam with reinforcements, and then to the DS, you're going with a lightweight rail beam, no reinforcements, and then the difference in just shock capacity. They're big shocks on the RE, 36 millimeter pistons on the DS. So if you want to go out and do Andreas type stuff and turtle gap type things and front flips, like the RE is the way to go, because it's going to hold up for sure. Most mountain guys probably would do better just on the DS if they're looking for just play ride in deep powder technical lines. Is that kind of the
Yes.
the angle between the two?
Yes. This is exactly the target. Hannu.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
please.
if I may add, we have also the track lengths. supporting this. So the DS is available with 3900 and 4100. So it's more suited for, the steepest and deepest snow, whereas the RE is available with 3700 and 3900. So that's also more optimized for, jumps and tricks and whatsoever. The ski stance is also different. So we have 34-inch ski stance on DS, whereas we have 36 on RE for the same reason.
Okay, let's talk about the front end there while we're talking ski stance. Janne, you want, or Hannu, maybe you want to talk about that twin link steering and the new spindle, what the changes on the front end here?
Hannu, you would like to go, or?
Well, you could go for the more technical part, but anyway, we have the new front end, the LFS DS, with new spindles, new steering system, and perhaps the biggest difference is there that the skis are turning much more than before, especially the ski that is on the side hill. So in the snow when you're side hilling, and this makes a big difference in the riding dynamics. But yeah, the twin link system also has a big role to play in the predictability and preciseness of the steering. But Janne, perhaps you can tell more about the nuts and bolts.
Yes, for sure. The twin link steering is matched to our spindles, and the spindles are specific to Lynx. They are 20 millimeter higher, taller between the lower A-arm and the ski bolt, so they're 20 millimeter more gap, and then upper A-arm and the lower A-arm are 7 millimeters more apart from each other. It has a 6 millimeter trail, minus 6 millimeter. Earlier we were using minus 5 on our side. Exactly as Hannu said, we have increased about 40% this turning radius when you are side hilling the ski, which is against the snow, is turning 40% more. So this is a big difference and really affecting on riding. Once you are on a side hill, and if you want to put your nose down, now you have really a capacity with the steering, and you can do this much easier instead of trying to push the nose downwards.
On the spindle there, you mentioned that the bottom A-arm mounts 20 millimeters higher, effectively lifting the front of the snowmobile 20 millimeters higher out of the snow.
Yes.
Talk about that a little more. What's the objective with that?
Yeah, we wanted to increase the center of gravity higher to make the sled easier to tilt on the side and initiate the turn. And this is the main idea around it. And to balance the sled, as I said earlier, the rear suspension is having a less travel on the rear arm. So it basically means that when you look the side view of the shredder, the nose is higher and the tail is a little bit lower. So this is the idea what we wanted to do for the chassis. If we say a stance of the chassis, so the stance is now more nose up.
So
and this is yes.
Oh,
go ahead.
You're changing the attitude of the chassis in the snow, but
yes.
by raising the rear end of the running board, you're bringing the rider back up to where the rider position is still able to get up over the front end pretty easily. Yes.
We were overall we wanted to get the rider a little bit higher and the chassis as well higher on the front and to make the sled easier to put on the side hill and maneuver and ride on the side hills.
So spreading the upper and lower control arms apart by 7 millimeters, what does that do to suspension feel and control?
This is when you go trail riding and there is bumps and jumps, it goes better, more straight. We wanted to, and if Andreas want to make another big jump, it goes better on those ramps. So.
And then one more question on that spindle. By increasing the trail, well, you're going from negative 5 millimeter to negative 6 millimeter. What does that 1 millimeter change do?
It is actually really big change on when we are talking about the ski bolt location. So it is making the steering a little bit easier. So it eases the steering effort a little bit.
So you're
But
moving.
1 millimeter is
Oh, go ahead.
small difference, but a big difference in the riding behavior.
So if you draw a center line down between the two control arm mounts on the spindle, the ski bolt moved backward a millimeter?
It moved forward because from -5, it's in front of this line, -5 millimeters, and now we are -6, so it goes further ahead,
Gotcha.
1 millimeter further. Yeah.
All right, that's why you're the engineer.
So, yeah, because in a trail sleds and some of the competitor sled, the ski bolt is on the backside of this axis. So then we are talking about the plus side of. So it's a little bit kind of tricky to discuss about it. But anyway, the steering effort is a little bit less than earlier from that change.
Right, Andreas, what do you feel on the front end here?
Yeah, like I said, like the RE it runs so good on the trail too. Like I'm not sure if it's the steering, the spindle, or the new ski, but altogether it stays super good on the trail or when you're hitting bumps, tracks, up in the forest, all tracks. So it's in a way more stable. It felt really, I felt really confident just riding the sled. And I'm guessing it's just a mix between all the new updates in the front doing that.
Pascal, we're back to talking about a few shared components here. Just to clarify, so people that are listening understand this, yes, the twin link steering is something that you'll find on the 2026 Ski-Doo Expert, but that Expert has a 32-inch ski stance. You're going to find that on the 2026 LYNX Shredder RE and the Shredder DS. The Shredder RE has a 36-inch ski stance, and the DS has a 34-inch ski stance. So a little shared componentry there, but totally different setup on the LYNX.
Absolutely. And again, it's tweaking. Janne was explaining this 1 millimeter of trail that they played with. It's just crazy, right? How those little movement of position of a bolt can change the behavior of the sled. And speaking of this twin link, because we had to play with the length of the tie rod, depending on the ski stance, again, it changed the ride dynamic. But one thing that is common for all, it's much more stable, and Andreas explained it well. When you are going on bumpy trails, instead of the skis doing this, it stays much flatter. The movement is flatter, and you are in much better control, and you feel in better control. So hands down, yes, it's for both brands, but adapt for the type of riding, whether you ride a Lynx or you ride a XT.
And perhaps just to put things into perspective, we are talking about the 1 millimeter difference in the trail, but we need to remember that we have different spindles, we have different skis, we have different skid. So we're talking about much more than that 1 millimeter. And that's why the riding dynamics are so different. And it's good to hear that we have some benefits on the trail as well. And now we discussed that perhaps even more than the deep snow, but the benefits in deep snow and especially in side hilling are second to none. I was very happy with what we achieved. I was riding the DS in snowshoot quite a bit, and I was very happy with the precision of the side hill and how it just was easy to keep the line as you wanted. You could stop and look at the views and then continue with no problem, and you were still holding the same line.
Yeah, for sure. Janne and maybe Andreas too, talk about why being able to turn the ski more, why having that increased steering benefits you on side hilling.
Well, for me, it's initiating, like when you want to get onto the side hill, you get more steering to make it happen. Or if you're kind of on the way to losing your side hill and you need to save it, it's good to find that extra steering to push the front back down in the hill to keep it on the side hill. So if you need to save it, then it's really good to find.
Yeah, and you're basically able to turn the ski farther away from the hill,
a lot more.
which lets the spindle and the weight of the sled kind of fall into the hill, and
yeah. So the front end will fall down. Yeah.
And then you've got a new ski this year. What all have you done to the new ski on this for 26, Yanni?
Ski is more narrow, so it's easier to push into the snow. Also, the keel balance. We have double keel design, so the balance of those keels have been redesigned to let's say equalize the behavior between different snow types. Also, the ski is lighter. Those are the main changes. But as Andreas was talking about side hilling, I fully agree on those points, and just to correct, let's say, be specific, that the steering bar is still turning the same than earlier. So this is the benefit is coming from the clever steering system, LYNX steering system, together with our spindle. So there is some new things, and we are kind of we are using if in a car we have this steering system called Ackerman steering. So the inside tire is turning more to turn the car efficiently. But we flipped around this idea. So we were having this same kind of idea, but we wanted to execute this into the ski, which is on the side hill, against the side hill. So that was the idea, and it's also we are looking if we can get the patent on this idea. So there was some inventions going on this topic.
So it's a combination of a lot of things we're talking about here. You know, we talked about the trail, the new spindle, but you engineered this as a package. You've got twin link steering, you've got the new spindle, the increased steering angle, along with the new ski. So a lot of components going in to change the ride dynamic on the front of this completely.
Yes, it's. I have said it to some media and some people that the sled might look about the same when you look from the distance, but I would say almost all the items which are affecting the riding dynamics and riding behavior in the deep snow, they are changed, and they have developed further. So pretty much all the components on the rear suspension, as we were talking, everything is a little bit changed. There's nothing same what comes to the dimensions, and also in the front suspension, as we were discussing. So all of the key elements have been changed. So no wonder people have felt that there is a clear difference. So that's a end result of these changes, many changes.
Yeah, this is about as big of a change as you can go. Like, snowmobilers get stuck in this pattern where they want to see a new chassis every 4 or 5 years. Some want to see it even more. Like if something comes out and nothing changes, they're like, oh, this sucks. But what you can't get much more different than model year 25 to 26 LYNX, what you guys have done. And if you change the plastics just a little bit and make this thing look a little different, people are gonna be like, holy cow, that's a whole new sled. It is. Yeah. It's a new tunnel, which is a new rear suspension. It's a new front end, new steering system. It's a very much different machine than it has been the last 2 years. What are some of the other changes you've done on the shredders? I see you've got a new seat. Anything else we haven't talked about?
Yes, lower seat. We were mentioning a shorter radiator. We have all the new snow guard, which is a slimmer, lighter, shorter. The new rear lights, they are smaller, lighter, nice looking. We also have on the chain case bottom, there is this gap, which is obviously collecting ice and snow there. So we have now foam there, which is preventing this, or let's say reducing the ice buildup on this area. And then we have the tunnel is made from the thinner material, so there is light weight savings on the tunnel. In a 850 natural aspirated, so the air box, the primary air chamber is a little bit lighter, new material there. What else? Yeah,
weight,
Hannu, do you?
The total weight. It's
Yeah,
a 5
the total
kilo.
weight
It's
is
11 pounds. It's
Yes,
it's a big chunk.
So
exactly.
up to 11 pounds lighter on 2026 Shredder RE. And like you said, there's some changes there that applied just to the 850 NA, like the airbox. So a turbo wouldn't have, a Shredder Turbo RE wouldn't have that 1 pound difference in the airbox. So you're talking like a 10 pound lightweight difference on the 2026 Shredder Turbo. And then how much lighter
Yes.
is the Shredder DS?
In pounds, what was the was it 5 pound difference on the DS we were talking about?
Yeah, it's 2 kilos plus, so it would be somewhere between 4 and 5 pounds, close to 5 pounds, I believe.
Andreas, with all the crazy stuff you do, talk about weight for you. Like having an RE that's 10, 11 pounds lighter this year. Does that matter to you?
Yeah, of course it matters. Like it helps, of course, even though you shouldn't focus too much on weight. Like weight is a number. It's more about how the sleds feel. But of course, taking away weight will make it feel easier to ride. But you shouldn't focus too much on the number. For me, like I can easily put on weight to make it ride better. Also, just a point there. But
Yeah.
of course, it's helping. Like all this is just improvements, which is gonna make it easier. And it's also a lot of the weight that is taken away is in the front and in the rear, and that is where you will feel the weight loss the most, which is really nice.
Yeah, and a lot of that weight comes from like we mentioned, the tunnel being shorter for one, made with thinner material, your more aggressive taper. You've also shortened the cooler, so the actual coolant capacity, the water that you're carrying, the coolant you're carrying within the cooler has been reduced. So a lot of that weight comes from like the core of the tunnel and the chassis there. I wanted to point out something that I know a lot of people around here in the U.S. talk about. You've added a rear bumper.
You like that?
I like that. Having to move these things around in the trailer. What? Why didn't it have a rear bumper before?
As I said, we from the engineering point of view, we wanted to make the tunnel as slim and as small already. As I said, 2018 we became the first to have a short tunnel on the snowmobile industry. So after that, when we went further, we wanted to keep the tail as slim as possible. And in our eyes, well, we need to do sacrifices. So we were sacrificing the let's say the bumper to increase a little bit of or let's say reducing the drag from it, what it creates. And now when we came with this design, we understood that yes, people want to have the bumper, but bringing the bumper in, we wanted to make it slim as possible. And that was the moment when the idea came to taper in the tail as much as possible.
So the tail end of the tunnel on the 26 with a bumper, is that the same width as the 25 without a bumper?
No, it's slimmer.
Even slimmer. Yeah, I like that. See, you've come up with the best of both worlds. We get a grab handle to move things around in the shop.
That's engineering. That's why the engineers try to figure out all these things. And I must say the weight reduction is always something we want to achieve. But from the engineering point of view, it's the fact is that if you go too light, you will start breaking parts. And I've been racing enough to understand that if my race sled is really light, I don't see the checker flag because it's broken before the checker flag. So it's something where we are balancing for sure. That it is possible to build a very light snowmobile and sell it to the customers, but from our point of view, with our heritage and with our Andreas jumping around as ambassador, we want to keep the sleds in a way that Andreas can also ride them.
And I think that's one of the cool aspects of Lynx, and I think a lot of people understand that pretty well. Having an RE and a DS, and I hope that never changes. I hope there's always this top of the line RE with huge suspension capacity that Andreas is out there doing just insane stuff on. And then you've got the deep snow for the rest of us. But it's such a cool lineup. One thing we didn't talk about that I wanted to ask you about, with the rear suspension, the PPS3, the track tension changes a little bit. How does that work? It's more consistent?
Yes, it is. Track tension is changing less now with the new version we have, and this means you can run the track quite loose. It is much more loose than we have seen before. It's 60 millimeter when you pull the 7 kilo downwards, and you get the 60 millimeter. So it's about double more loose than earlier in this model.
So how are you able to accomplish
that? For sure, it is because as I said, the rear suspension has a lot of changes. So even though the front arm is looking to be about in the same as it is in a new position. So it's more center arm overall angle is more vertical. So it's creating less track tension when the rear suspension is moving. As well, the rear arm is having the wheels in the new position, so this is also as well reducing the track tension changes. As well, the rail angle in the front is reducing. So it's many small details. And and how do you feel this is the fact that this new sled is more quiet, so less noise from the track, and it's also rolling much easier. So it's nicer to ride when the track is rolling free, and no ratcheting. So it's amazing that I must say that I haven't felt any ratcheting in my testing, what we've been now running quite a lot. So even the track is really loose, no ratcheting. So this has been quite a surprise to me as well.
And Hannu, did you want to add anything there?
Well, I was about to say that the new geometry kind of also makes the suspension move more, like it keeps more parallel to the chassis. The objective was more to make the side hilling more predictable and easier, but also I think probably it has something to do with the fact that it has less track tension variation as well, since the way the suspension moves is a bit different.
Yes, earlier the rear arm was moving more, let's say easier. It was collapsing easier, but now with the new rear spring we have, it's a progressive 3570 Newton meter new spring. So this is holding the rear arm more out and keeping the rear suspension in level, and you can really feel this when you go side hilling or climbing uphills.
Okay, and then Lynx still runs a 15-inch wide track, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So that's another difference on the deep snow lineup between Lynx and Ski-Doo. The Ski-Doo Summit X, the Ski-Doo Summit X with Expert package, they're both running 16 wide tracks. Lynx Shredder DS and RE are both running 15-inch wide tracks. Are you doing your own track design?
No, we are utilizing the same track. So So to be cost effective and still to gain the, as Pascal was describing earlier, the benefits of cooperating with Ski-Doo. So as an example, the track is something we've been sharing, and for sure 15-inch track has the benefits, and we like those benefits and in our style of riding.
And what are those benefits for your style of riding?
It is more nimble to maneuver and turn and carve because it's 15-inch, so 1-inch wider track obviously has the benefits, but in our mind the 15-inch suits better for us.
Okay, and so is this the same 15-inch wide track that you'd find on a Ski-Doo freeride?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a component
with
that's
the
shared between the two.
long rod.
Right, full width rods. Yeah.
Long rod.
Yeah, not a flex edge track. Definitely not a flex edge track.
No.
Okay, so to quickly recap the shredder lineup here, and then we'll jump into the rest of the LYNX models. For 2026, shredder, you've shortened the tunnel, shortened the cooler, narrowed the tunnel at the tail end, tapered the tunnel more, raised the running boards. The tunnel's made with a little thinner material, reducing the overall weight of the LYNX Shredder RE by up to 11 pounds. A new rear suspension, PPS 3 DS rear suspension, new front and LFS DS front suspension with twin link steering. Again, the Shredder RE runs a 36-inch ski stance. The Shredder DS runs a 34-inch ski stance. The front end of the vehicle has been brought up by 20 millimeters or about an inch with the new spindle. And the control arms have been spread out by about 7 millimeters. You've changed the trail by a millimeter. You've got a new lightweight compact seat, and you've lowered the riser, the handlebar riser, to a 90 millimeter riser. Anything else there on the shredder that we haven't touched on?
Did you mention the skis? Blade DSS.
And the skis. Yeah, I didn't scroll down far enough. The Blade DSS ski, which is a 10 millimeter narrower, 250 grams lighter, and has a new, little more balanced keel design for more predictable steering. So all of that together just creates a LYNX shredder that is better and more optimized for deep snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well said.
All right. I'm a rider over here, Pascal.
Yeah.
All right, Hannu, what else do we want to talk about here? You want to get into the changes on the Brutal Commander, the XTerrain?
Whatever is in your interest, but since we're talking about deep snow and then vehicles that can do well in deep snow, I would like to highlight the Brutal for sure. So we came up with the 20-inch wide Brutal RE now on the Radiant 2 platform with a lot of new stuff on it. And that is, by the way, the sled that many people that need to carry stuff and want to go to the same locations as deep snow riders, they tend to choose the Brutal. Whether it's a filming group or whether it's a rescue group, as I saw a video from shown by Janne today. So those guys who want to get to the same places but have a wide track, they tend to choose Brutal for a very good reason.
Okay, so what are the big changes there aside from having the 20-inch wide option there? Have you done other chassis changes, suspension changes?
Yeah, well, perhaps the biggest visual difference, of course, is that it comes now with the Radiant 2 platform. So with the LED headlights, with also the big 10.25-inch touchscreen display, with the group ride feature this year for North America, we have 4-piston brake, a new flippable snow flap that is actually pretty genius and will improve the deep snow capability big time. So you can easily flip up the snow flap. It doesn't drag in deep snow anymore, and it's easy to reverse as well. What else? We have
engine mount for the 4 strokes.
Yeah, for the 2 strokes. Yeah, for engine mounts. Very true. We have actually new deep snow style running boards as well on the wide track Brutal. So very open structure, no ice buildup. And we also have a new updated steering system as well. So we played with the steering lever as well as the spindle, basically just making the steering effort, or requires less steering effort and is more predictable and more stable on trails as well.
Do you spend any time on these, Andreas?
I ride them from time to time, like we're doing shoots and events. So I do get to try them out. The Rave, it's a super fun trail sled. Like it's unreal how fast you can go and how smooth it is in the bumps. So a little bit, but not too much.
Can you black flip a Brutal?
We have talked about it, yeah. Like we're like, oh, should we do it? Like 100% you can do it. The question is like,
When?
are we? Yeah, when and where?
Let's
We'll see.
let's
It
line
might
this
happen.
up. Who's the customer for the Brutal line?
The Brutal is a crossover, but it's a very deep snow biased crossover. So it's for people that want to have a deep snow capable sled, but they want to have something a little bit more versatile than an actual mountain sled. So you can do more with it. Whether you want to tow a sleigh or you want to take some gear with you or whatsoever, it's more suitable for that, and of course more suitable for trail riding as well.
Right. Okay, and then
It's really a badass sled for sure, like the Brutal.
don't some of the guys in your crew run that, Andreas?
We have like a couple of the filmers so from time to times, like they need to get gear up the mountain and stuff like that, and they just love the Brutal because it's a heavy duty deep snowmobile. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, and then I understand Colt built a really cool Brutal this year, and has done some pretty crazy stuff with that. Like that was a pretty insane machine, but that was a 2025. So you got some other changes and updates coming out for 26 on there that he's going to have to go back and put together another one for himself.
Yeah, I like the stuff that Carlton is doing with his 16-inch version. So that's the narrow track Brutalari that we introduced on the Radiant 2 platform in 25, and now we have the wide track also on the same platform for 26.
Okay. Do you want to hit on the Commander?
Yeah, why not? That's big news, and I think it's not big news only for North America, but it's kind of big news for many people at LYNX as well, because Commander is the best seller in Scandinavia, and it has been like this for years and years, basically since we introduced it in 2008, or was it 2008? Anyway, so it's been top seller for a long time, and it is the most versatile sled that you can imagine. And it's just awesome to see that sled going to North America now. And I'm hearing the birds are telling me that it's actually getting a lot of interest. That's what I'm hearing.
I mean, it's a pretty appealing looking sled. Like it's got a very unique Lynx look to it. And then for some of the changes that you've done this year, we were talking about trail earlier on the shredder. You've changed the trail on this, a little bit shorter steering post arm, just to make the steering effort a little easier.
Yes, actually, the changes that I mentioned to Brutal, some of them are applicable to Commander RE as well. So the 4-piston brake, the flippable snow flap, and as well as the steering updates that we did that you mentioned. But there's even more to it, and of course now there's a difference in terms of what is new for North America versus what is new for Europe, because the model was available in Europe already. But for North America, basically the whole vehicle is new. So from that point of view, there's more new to North America, I would say.
Right. Yeah, a whole new vehicle here for us. Do you want to hit on the XTerrain as well, or updates to that this year?
For XTerrain, we were coming up with the 4-piston brake. Now I need to, I think there is actually heated seat and 4-piston brake, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we say the Rave, you guys say Rave. So the correct pronouncement of that is Rave, right?
Rave, yes.
Talk about that model for a minute. Like that's kind of the flagship of LYNX. That's where a lot of the racing heritage follows through from the snowcross days and the dominance over there.
Yes, and still today you can take Rave and go racing, and you'll do you'll do very well if you can just ride. So actually, what is new for Rave this year? We are coming up with the LFSR front suspension. That will mean a new spindle. But in terms of benefits, if I'm not going to the millimeters and nuts and bolts, but focusing more on the benefits, it's more stable for sure. It does have more suspension travel, so more suspension capacity, and more precise steering. So when you're going through those, bumpy curves or rough sections, you will have, I would say, you can hit the same curve that you're used to with faster speed than before. You feel more confident going through that curve with that extra stability and capacity.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about on the 26 lineup? I've got one or two questions that I've gathered for this, but anything else you want to cover on the lineup?
Maybe one point, maybe regarding the connectivity, the improvement that has been brought on Lynx and Ski-Doo this year. All Lynx with the 10.25 inch display will get the latest embedded maps improvement. So you will have the map embedded into the gauge. No need to connect your phone. I think that's one key element that customer voiced and we listen, so we deliver. Combined with the BRP Go apps that has been improved as well. When you have the full-fledged navigation, then you connect the phone and you have your turn-by-turn navigation as well. So great stuff on this. New Vibe communication system, the comm system that you can pair with the gauge and with your colleague, with your buddy while riding. So the connectivity for model year 26, we elevated a notch above. And group ride, obviously, I was missing it.
Yeah, I was going to mention
famous group ride. Yeah, this is a feature I asked for so many years, and finally we have it. But off-trail riding in a mountain, I think this is a must-have in my point of view. But still in trail riding as well, when you want to know where's your buddy, is he stuck, is he behind, or what's happening? So it's a great feature, I believe, that the riders will pretty much embrace.
Yeah, we've been using group ride a lot this spring, testing the 26 stuff on Ski-Doo and Lynx, and being able to see and easily locate everybody. I like how it shows you last known location, even if the engine's been shut off, or if they've gone out of range, you still get the last known location, so you have a direction to head to. But for the most part, you can see exactly where everybody's at. It tracks your progress, so you can see where you've been, where you've just come from, and it's so easy to orient and figure out where the rest of the group is, because I have a tendency to either get lost or my group gets lost, one of the two. So I wind up out looking for people about half my ride. So using group ride on this is a pretty cool feature.
Absolutely, and all this group feature without phone, and I think this is important to make the point. There's a little RF radio frequency transmitter in the vehicle that transmit the information by low frequency.
Yeah, so you don't need to connect your phone this year to get group ride.
Exactly. Yep.
No, that's a really cool feature. All right, so I did have a couple questions. These are just things that I've gathered from people through riding and what we've seen on social media. Multiple people have asked, like, can you take the 2026 Ski-Doo Expert 20 or 32 inch front end and put that on a 2026 Lynx? And somebody asked me that yesterday, actually.
Well, the front end for sure will fit into the S module, so the ARM locations and those things are same. So, but let's say that the spindle tie rods for sure would be different length and so on. But let's say that yes, I think some technical skillful mechanics can do these tweaks. That's for sure. Yeah,
and I'm just asking, like, hypothetically, it's possible. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. Like Lynx is Lynx. You want the front end that comes on the Lynx for a reason. It pairs up well with the PPS3 rear suspension. I would want to leave that alone and just run the twin link that comes on the Lynx. But yeah, some of the people out here that come up with ideas of ways to modify this, there's probably somebody out there trying to figure out how to swap tunnels and change rear suspensions. I don't know.
I would say Shredder is a pure deep snow sled, and our focus is 100% on deep snow. But because of our DNA, because of what we are and who we are and how we do things, it will automatically do well on rough stuff. That's more or less it. So, but when it's about this kind of deep snow sled, the focus will be and will be on deep snow for sure.
You got anything else to add to this, Yanni, before we sign off?
Yeah, it's the for sure the suspension, and as Hannu was saying, we in the engineering we try to balance between all these needs and but for sure the Shredder is pure deep snow sled, and this is how it need to be calibrated and done. And but in the same time, we understand that people want to have the fun time going into the zone, and as you said, those trails are really nasty. So we want to give the customer the full ride experience, starting from the let's say from the truck parking area back to there and riding all those hours at the mountain. So all those times need to be fun. So this is what we want to do.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Just shortly, because even if we say deep snow in Scandinavia, it's not deep snow. We don't have 2 meters or 3 meters of snow. So even if we are riding in deep snow, there might be, and there are often, some negative surprises under the snow, whether they are stumps or rocks or whatsoever. So that's also the reason why, even in deep snow sled, we want our suspension to outperform the competition. It's just where we ride and how we ride. We need to have that suspension capacity.
Yeah, and you can see that compared to other brands and other models, just that priority of suspension and that race heritage of suspension just sets that apart. And then you go out and you watch Andreas over the last 5-6 years, just his popularity exploding based on the things he's able to do. And I think a lot of that honestly comes from riding in Scandinavia and then coming over to BC or North America, and you just have this capacity because you're used to everything just being rough, and everywhere you go it's just jumping. And then you come over here and I can't imagine the way you look at terrain, like the first element of Big Five, that big drop gap. Being able to look at that and think, okay, well, I'm going to take off from that spot and I'm going to land over here. Nobody else is looking at terrain like that. Like, that's insane.
Well, you guys, like in America in general, it's just the opportunities here is just unreal. Like what you can do up the mountains. There's so many stuff. And when people say it's tracked out, it's not. Like it's always a few spots left you can ride. It's just being here in BC it's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of that, I have a crew outside now kind of screaming at me because we're not going out riding. And I told them 9 o'clock and it's 12 minutes late now. So are we done with the shredder part? I would love to go out and rip.
Yeah, we're done with the whole thing. I can tell you're itching to get out and go ride. So we'll wrap it up here. Let me thank our guests here. Again, we've got Janne Tapio, Snowmobile Project Manager for LYNX, Hannu Harkonen. Tell me again. I'm not saying that right again.
It's close enough. It's very close enough. Hannu Harkonen. Okay. But I'm not expecting anyone to say it like that.
Okay. Global Product Manager for LYNX. Pascal Vincent, Director Global Product Strategies for BRP, so covering Ski-Doo and LYNX. And then obviously Andreas Bergmark, LYNX Ambassador, RedBull athlete. I can't imagine what you're working on. I look forward to seeing whatever it is. If you're out there with the film crew, I'm sure there's something cool coming this fall, maybe Heydays. So looking forward to that, and then seeing whatever next adventures you have on. But thanks for coming on, all of you. We appreciate your time and the insight. It's fun to talk about the 2026 Lynx lineup and all the new changes there. A lot to be excited about. A lot of new stuff coming. So with that, we'll sign off. Thanks for coming on. See you guys later.